I called Ian McKelvey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to speak on a bill introduced to this House by a colleague of mine sitting next to me, and I think a great effort, in fact, to get this bill to this point. And I want to remind a number of speakers who've gone prior to me that the process of Parliament enables bills to be introduced to the House and then discussed at length by select committees. And it seems to me that a lot of the criticism that I've heard tonight from both the Labour Party and the Greens could certainly have been furthered in the course of a select committee discussion. So I think that's the first point I want to make, Speaker. At the core of this bill is yet another effort to make the lives of some of our children better than they already are, and to protect them from what can only be called predators. And I think, Mr. Speaker, that the attitude of those opposed to this bill at the first reading is a little sad, because I think it is an opportunity for us to make some progress on a very difficult topic, a very difficult issue for our communities. And the issue of name change, of course, is also a difficult issue for our law enforcement agencies and for those around them. And I accept the fact that you can't stop someone changing their name by passing some legislation, but you can certainly make it illegal to do so by passing some legislation. And I think that that's really important for this Parliament to consider as it goes through this process. David Clendon talked about the low levels of offending that could lead to the conditions of this bill kicking in. Again, this is an issue that could well have been dealt with and could well be dealt with by the Select Committee in the course of the discussions they have. That's why we have Select Committees. I congratulate New Zealand First for recognising this and for, in fact, wishing to take this discussion further and get some progress on the issue through the Select Committee. Mr. Speaker, Minister Tolley very recently in Wanganui launched the Wanganui Children's Team, which covers the Taihape, Martin and Ratahi part of my electorate, and will be most welcome in those areas. And when you get these diverse rural electorates, of course, challenges right throughout those electorates are very different in different areas, and Wanganui touches on the edge of the Rangitikei electorate, and that Wanganui Children's Team will certainly have a good impact, in my view, in all three of those towns I've mentioned and the communities surrounding them. It's further evidence of the effort put in by this government to the protection and safety of our young people. Also, just recently, Mr. Speaker, I had an organisation from Taumarunui, a whānau ora provider in Taumarunui, the Kokiri Trust, bring their presentation to Parliament, looking at a lot of the issues that this bill aims to deal with as well. And whilst this bill deals with a very, very narrow part of the challenges we face with respect to child sex offenders and the impact they have on young people they come in contact with, all those providers out there are working very hard to try, to alleviate this situation. And every piece of legislation we can put in place to assist that process is a good one. So I fully support even the smallest progress we might make through this bill, and I support the bill because of it. I think it's really important that if we only impact on the lives of 2 or 3 children a year, we've made a significant difference to those children's future, and no doubt the family that lives with whoever that offender might be. Mr. Speaker, I've read the report of the Attorney-General, and the issues raised in this report will of course be discussed in the Select Committee. And there's always opportunity, I think, to alleviate some of the concerns expressed in that report. There will be some concerns that won't be able to be alleviated, and the Select Committee will at that time make their judgment on that. So, Mr. Speaker, changing one's name is no doubt a freedom that most deserve. However, everyone has a responsibility to their fellow humans and to their neighbours. In some cases, abuse of these people and abuse of that should lead to some rights being withdrawn. And I think that there's often evidence that we can make a very strong case for some rights being withdrawn from offenders, particularly offenders of this nature. Mr. Speaker, I've got a great deal of pleasure in supporting this bill, and I hope it makes good progress. Thank you.